Welcome, everyone. We will start shortly. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Belen Seara. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Equity and Belonging Manager for the County of San Mateo in the Office of Racial and Social Justice. We welcome you to the Inclusive Procurement, Supplier Diversity Study, and Local Business Preference Ordinance webinar. I have my colleague, Andrew Kenag, from the Office of Racial and Social Justice supporting me today. So if you have any technical issues, please chat with him via the chat section at the bottom of your screen. And I also have our guest from the Department of General Services from the state of California, Matt Swayer, who will be speaking to you at a later time on the agenda about the state certification process and technical support. So with no further ado, welcome everyone. And this will be a 1-hour webinar. And I encourage you to post your questions or reactions or suggestions as things come out to you. But we will have time to answer some of those questions. So just logistics-wise, please chat with Andrew for any technical support and some challenges that you might be experiencing. We want to make sure that you know this meeting is being recorded, and we will upload the video to the Supplier Diversity website. And you can submit questions, reactions into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And we will make the slide deck available to you as well. So no need to take too many notes. We want to make sure that you can focus on the content and share your feedback with us. We have a brief feedback form for you to share your reactions to this webinar, since we are hoping to do more outreach to vendors in general throughout the year. And you can always share additional reflections via email at equitysmc@smcgov.org with us. So for today, we'll have a brief update on background section just to ground us on the efforts that the county is engaged around inclusive procurement. I will share the key findings and recommendations that came out of the supplier diversity study, and we'll have a chance to check in with few Q&A there. I will provide an update of the local business preference ordinance that the Board of Supervisors has recently adopted. We will stop also there for questions and answers. And then Matt will share with us some of the resources that the state has to certify the small and micro business in the state. And we'll go into some of the next steps. So just to ground us on the county efforts around inclusive procurement, our Office of Racial and Social Justice aims to make all county operations more equitable to better serve all residents and businesses located in San Mateo County. One of the main efforts that we engaged from the start of the office that was created a few years ago is to advance an anchor institution framework. And what this means is basically is recognizing the economic power that our county has as one of the largest employers in the county of San Mateo to advance shared prosperity in the county for all residents. And there are three main buckets under this anchor institution framework: inclusive workforce, which is the hiring power that we have. We employed around over 5,000 employees and multiple contractors. Inclusive procurement, which is why we are here today to share some of the efforts around this bucket. And this is where we want to support local small businesses to share in the prosperity of economic opportunities generated by the county. The county spends approximately $500 million a year on goods and services. And prior to the supplier diversity study, we didn't have a good understanding of existing use of local, small, micro, and diverse business enterprises in our procurement spend. So I'll be sharing some of that with you today. And then the third and last bucket is inclusive investments around properties and assets that the county invests on. So this inclusive procurement effort that I'll be giving you update and an overview today is part of this larger framework that we are trying to advance in San Mateo County. So we shared as part of your registration the final supplier diversity study, which is a very large document, and we will not go over into details today. But we wanted to share the key findings and key recommendations that came out. Some of these recommendations and findings were already shared in a preliminary version back in August when we had other vendors forums. So if you have attended some of those past forums, this might not be new to you. But it will be a quick overview, and I focus on some of the new ones. But the supplier diversity study was a key strategy and tool that the county invested on to advance shared prosperity and an opportunity to reverse the historical inequities that we've seen by removing the barriers for local, small, micro businesses and diverse businesses to access county procurement opportunities. And it's been over a year of engaging and understanding our procurement contracts and barriers and opportunities of local vendors. And all that is already available in that extended document. So I, with no further ado, I wanted to highlight kind of the key findings in 4 bucket areas. So the first one is that the study found that there is disparate underutilization of local and small and local micro vendors relative to their availability in the marketplace. Primarily, this underutilization was evident in professional services contracts as well as prime contractors. The study also indicated that there's substantial underutilization of diverse businesses across all types of contracts. The county already spent a significant amount in local businesses, and in that, the amount of dollars procured to local businesses, most of those dollars go already to local small and local micro businesses. And most of those potentially available local businesses are the small and micro businesses. So there is a significant opportunity here to have interventions that target local businesses because they will naturally support small and micro businesses in our market. One of the key things that I wanted to highlight was that the availability of all local businesses was greatest in county contracts that are less than $100,000. And local business availability decreased as contract size increase. So this is important for us to know because as the bigger the contracts, the less likely is that we will find local businesses to do that work. So that's something for us to keep in mind. For San Mateo County, our market area, the geographic market area where we do most of our businesses with vendors are the 4 counties, San Mateo County, San Francisco, Alameda, and Santa Clara County. So compared to our adjacent counties, San Mateo County is a very small market. So it's not that we have too much leeway to expand some of those procurement opportunities, but there's some opportunities for growth for sure. The other key finding falls under the issue that small vendors face barriers to access county procurement opportunities and sustain county contract requirements. And there are multiple opportunities for the county to improve its outreach and capacity building to local and diverse vendors. And it was clear throughout the outreach efforts to vendors and in our market area that they have limited resources, capacity, or experience to meet some of the extensive requirements of some of the county contracts, such as insurance, reporting requirements. The good news is that the county staff is willing to learn and implement inclusive procurement policies and practices. So there's a lot of internal appetite to move this work forward. The next bucket is around improvements needed to collect better information of contractors and subcontractors. And that will enable us to set adequate performance metrics. So the county, the supplier diversity study provided an opportunity for the county to set baseline benchmarks of the vendors we utilize and those that are available in our marketplace. But there's still the need to improve data collection and tracking so we can measure the impact of some of the measures that we already started implementing to increase the procurement of local small and local micro businesses. Few county departments overall reported tracking subcontractor data, and even fewer collect or maintain that data. And since opportunity for local businesses are hired in smaller contracts of 100,000 or less, this data is an important piece that we need to improve access to local and small micro vendors. So this is something we are hoping to hear from vendors around the best way to collect this information without being too burdensome on prime contractors. So before I move forward to recommendations, I want us to be reminded about Proposition 209 in California. This was a proposition that was adopted decades ago in 1996. But basically, it prohibits the county from adopting race and gender focused practices or policies. So we can advance gender and race neutral measures, but it's still we are limited by Proposition 209 as we implement some of the recommendations outlined in the supplier diversity study. So the first packet of recommendation is reducing the barriers to county procurement opportunities. And the county has already begun to work towards some of these recommendations. And in the next section of the agenda, we will cover the recently adopted local business preference ordinance. And we want to hear from you all as we prioritize these recommendations, what resonates the most with you, because we are going to be engaging this year in a process to prioritize some of these recommendations as we cannot do this all at once. So we want to get your feedback on which ones are the most important to you. So feel free to add that to the chat and bring it up during the Q&A. The first bucket of recommendation focuses on reducing these barriers, and the idea is to simplify, when possible, this insurance, invoicing, and reporting requirements. It's not always possible, but when available to us and permitted by law, the county is willing to review that. The other piece that came out from vendors and best practices analysis is that encourage county staff to unbundle large scope of projects. And these are large contracts that when we can divide it up in smaller dollar solicitations, it will enable more local small and local micro businesses to compete for those sections. And then the third bullet point here is that we just need to train county staff to implement inclusive procurement practices. And one of the key things that kept coming back in the interviews and surveys from vendors was that once they are in a solicitation and they apply, if they don't win a solicitation, it's rare for them to hear back from the county. And one key recommendation was to have quick check-in or debrief sessions with some of the folks that applied for those solicitations when they didn't win it. So those are the kind of things that fall under this bullet point. The next recommendation bucket is establishing and improving the data collection and monitoring systems. So we can continue after the study to have a good sense of who is participating in the county solicitations and who wins those contracts. And then that will enable us to have performance metrics that we can track over time. So in this, under this category, the county this year, in 2024, implemented OpenGov, which is a new procurement management system. And this will help us a lot in terms of improving our data collection of vendors. But there are some categories that we are still in need of improving. On that, we also are trying to figure it out how to best collect subcontractor information. At this point, the county does not require prime contractors to submit subcontractor data for most contracts. And we need to, and one of the data gaps that we need to figure out how to close. The other piece is around these efforts being more transparent to the public. So finding ways to communicate with vendors and the public in general around our progress in these efforts through external reports and data collection efforts. The next one is around improving our outreach and capacity building to local and diverse suppliers. And this is, the county already has some outreach efforts, but because our professional services procurement processes are decentralized and each department manages those solicitations, then outreach efforts are fragmented and not standardized. So we need to find a way to bring more guidance for our departments on how to do outreach within what is allowed under Proposition 209. We also, some of the recommendations include just being more proactive in creating spaces where prime contractors can meet subcontractor and smaller suppliers. And then just have better infrastructure around the county website for local vendors and small vendors to access relevant information in key areas, website and web pages of the county. And this is also around developing workshops and technical support that is is offered regularly to vendors, and also expands the understanding of how to navigate the procurement system. the final bucket of recommendations is around creating that internal infrastructure to reduce the disparities that the study found between utilized and available vendors. And this is where we are going to be developing a work plan to implement the recommendations outlined in the supplier diversity study. And we have to build the capacity of our county staff to implement some of the new policies that we'll be discussing today and some of the guidances that will be adopted, throughout the implementation of the study. And then there's a bucket around, inclusive procurement policies that the county could continue to explore. And the final bucket is around coordinating regionally with our county partners and other large public institutions, because we share the market, we share these vendors, and the challenges are that were communicated by vendors are experienced navigating the different public sector procurement systems. So it's just not San Mateo County per se. So that requires us to be more proactive in coordinating with our partners and making sure that we don't create more burdens on vendors as they apply for our solicitations. So with that, I want to stop and see if there are any clarifying questions. I want to hear to see if there's any recommendations that resonate with you the most. And if time allows, we are interested in these questions around if you are a prime contractor and if you have the experience of collecting and reporting subcontractor data, we want to understand what some of the pain points that you might be experiencing. So with that, I want to see if there are any questions from the audience. So we'll pause. And Andrew, let me know if there are any questions that I should be answering.
Looks like there's none at this time, but please feel free to submit questions at any time during this presentation. We have Q&A breaks throughout, and we'll make sure to take them then. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, with no questions on the chat. Oh, I see. So I see, will we be offered a liaison? So is that as far as an assigned person to navigate the procurement system as a vendor? Is that what the question refers to? Ishak Lopez, if you can ask that question. So right now we don't have a supplier diversity or local small business program in the county. So the procurement office in charge of all procurement in the county has to provide support to all departments. And we don't have a specific support for small local micro businesses in the county as part of the infrastructure. But the existing staff will have to, build the skills on how to support small local micro businesses in our communities, but not liaison as far as like assigned to, specific vendors. But feel free to, clarify your question if I didn't catch it correctly. Maybe if you see that happening in other counties or cities that they assign liaisons, please let me know, because we will want to capture that as something to explore. I don't see any questions. Okay. How do you ensure diversity and inclusion of suppliers now? So as before the supplier diversity study, there were administrative guidelines that encourage the procurement staff, county staff to support local small businesses, but there has never been a mandate to do that. So this is the first time the county is more explicitly, in their general procurement processes with the local preference ordinance that I will be discussing next. This is the first time we have the data as far as the amount of local vendors that we have supported through our procurement, local small, local micro, and diverse vendors. So this is one of our first steps toward having a better understanding of how to best support this type of vendors moving forward. All right. Yes, okay, so yes, like especially that makes sure you have work. So as I said before, we don't have that specific to vendors, but our procurement staff is, always available to support any vendors who are interested in applying for different solicitations. All right. Okay, seeing no more questions, let's jump to next steps. Is, as I mentioned to you, we will continue to do outreach to local small businesses. Through the supplier diversity study, we were able to collect a list of around 500 vendors in our regional market area. And we invited all of them to join OpenGov, which is our new e-procurement system. And then the county staff will be putting together a work plan by the end of this fiscal year to implement the supplier diversity study recommendations. So stay tuned for that. So moving to action, the county already has adopted multiple recommendations, but the most important one that I want to highlight today is the local business preference ordinance. And this is was adopted November 19th of 2024 by the Board of Supervisors. And what a preference ordinance is a policy tool that assigns a level of preference to vendors based on their location and size in the evaluation of public solicitations. And many of you will be familiar with this because San Mateo County is the last county in the Bay Area to adopt a local business preference. So the ordinance mirrors the ordinance adopted by the other counties. And you can see in this chart that all the other counties have this 5% bid discount at additional evaluation points. But we also included local small and local micro business preference in our ordinance. And with that, we will be joining Alameda County and San Francisco, who already have this local small and micro businesses preferences and then Santa Clara County is exploring a small business preference ordinance based on the recent disparity analysis. So this is not new to many of the vendors in our region. How does the local preference work in San Mateo County? So the preference will apply to solicitations of goods and professional services contracts, and that are above $10,000. And at this point, it excludes public works solicitations. And the mechanics of it is basically the local businesses of any size, and we are defining local by businesses headquartered in San Mateo County. So it's not just a franchise and affiliate office. It has to be the principal office of the businesses located in San Mateo County. And when applying to county solicitation for goods or services, a local business of any size that is headquartered here will be provided with a 5% bid discount for the price-based solicitations, or a 5% evaluation points for best value solicitations. So note that the bid discount is applied for evaluation purposes only. And for local small businesses, the percentage will increase to a total of 8% bid discount and 8% additional evaluation points. And for local micro businesses, the total will be a total 10% bid discount or 10% additional evaluation points. So how we are defining local businesses or local nonprofits. So I just want to note here that one of the exemptions that that I'm going to note in the next slide is that we are including nonprofit in this local preference ordinance only when the solicitations include both for-profits and nonprofits applying for that same solicitation. But if a solicitation only receives applications from nonprofits, then we are not, the local preference ordinance does not apply. So for local businesses, we will be using a self-attestation form with a local address. And for the small and micro businesses definitions, we are using the definitions of the California Office of the Small Businesses and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprises Services. And small nonprofits, we are basing these thresholds on a landscape analysis conducted by local nonprofit agencies. So for the small will be an annual revenue of between $1 million and $2.5 million. And a micro nonprofit will be that one that has an annual revenue of less than $1 million. We will be accepting for the small and micro business certification, the California State certification. That's why Matt is here today to share with you the partnership that we are developing. For local nonprofits, we will be utilizing the tax form 990 to demonstrate their annual revenue. So, excuse me, before we move to Matt and the Q&A, I wanted to highlight that, as I mentioned before, public works contracts solicitations are exempted from this, and bids or proposals received that are all from nonprofits, and any situation that is disallowed by law. We also included waivers for our departments to be able to request in the event that the local preferences apply and it will create an additional cost to the county above $10,000, the departments will be able to request a waiver, or when it is determined that the best interest of the county will be served by waiving the application of this ordinance. So the ordinance, as I mentioned, was adopted in November, but it will not go into effect until July 1st of this year, 2025. So we have between now and July 1st, we are building the infrastructure for the optimal implementation. So with that, I want to take questions on the local business preference ordinance, and then we'll switch to Matt. All right, any questions on the local business preference ordinance here? And thank you, Andrea, for posting the links to the ordinance and the Supplier Diversity Study website. Any questions before we move to Andrew? Do you see anything on your end?
No, I think we're good to move on.
Awesome. Okay. So feel free to type your questions, any reactions we can cover, and I will pass it to Matt to share. Oh, I think someone submitted. Where can I find local business database? So Amar, we can, I can share that the database that was created by the consultant, and we made it available to our county departments already. And I'm happy to share it with you. So if you can, I can just email that to you as, as public information, and it has, their contact information, locality, and all that. So that can be made available. Perfect. So I see that. Wonderful. Any other questions? And again, this is not an exhaustive list of all local businesses in San Mateo County. The Supplier Diversity Study focused on the local businesses that are available to do business with the county in the industries that we tend to do business with. So it's limited to those industries. Wonderful. Okay. So Matt, I'll pass it to you now, and I will be scrolling through the slides, okay?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Zweier. I'm with the California Department of General Services, Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services. You've heard me mentioned a couple times in this evening's presentation. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the specific state certifications you're going to be getting to participate in this new wonderful program with the county. If we can go to the next slide. Here at the state, we actually have a small business goal of 25% for all contract dollars to spend with the state. I know right now we're mainly talking about San Mateo County. You will be getting a state certification as a small business, and that will actually open you up to pursuing lots of opportunities with the state at a benefit as well. So just something for you to know that the state, we have a 25% goal. And if you're wondering, is 25% a lot? How much are we talking about? You can look at the next slide and see that we're talking about several $billion a year going to certified small businesses in the state of California. So you can see our overall spend is a little over $16 billion, and it fluctuates every year, anywhere between 10 and 12 billion. Sometimes it goes higher. So if you do decide to go into state contracting, I know that's a little bit outside this immediate presentation, just know there's a lot of opportunity there. But when we talk about the actual certification, so we're talking about our small business certification. You've heard small business and micro business. At the state, we have one certification. It's called small business. And then in the application, you kind of get designated as micro or small, depending on how big or small your company is. So they aren't separate applications. There isn't anywhere for you to kind of pick or select that you're a micro business. The system will just decide based on kind of your various size standards. So a couple benefits to being certified. With the state, you get a 5% bid preference. As a small business, with the state, you get some exclusive contract opportunities, some enhanced prompt payment benefits. You'll also get to work with our reciprocity partners, and those are cities and counties throughout the state that actually accept and recognize our certification. We're in the final stages of finalizing one with San Mateo County, so they're going to be one of our wonderful reciprocity partners. Whenever you work with a prime contractor on a state contract, they get all the other benefits of your certification. So it makes you really desirable as a sub looking to work with primes. So those are some of the basic benefits. But let's talk about the basic eligibility requirements so that you all will know whether or not you actually qualify for this small business certification. So first is you do need to be independently owned and operated. You can't be a subsidiary of a large corporation or a foreign corporation. You also can't be dominant in your field of operation. That's not very common for a small business to be the dominant player, but the idea behind the certification is that you need a leg up on the competition, but if you're dominant in your field, you are the competition. Not very common for that to happen. The principal office of the business, essentially the headquarters, must be located in California. So you could have offices elsewhere, but headquarters have to be in the state. The owners of the company or officers, if it's an actual corporation, must live in California. You have to have 100 or fewer employees, and your gross annual receipts needs to be less than $18 million. And that's with affiliates averaged over 3 years. We get a lot of questions about, well, what's an affiliate? Essentially, if you own multiple businesses, those are common affiliates. If your immediate family owns other businesses, that can also count as affiliates sometimes. There's one caveat, is that if you are a manufacturer, you only have the employee cap of 100. You do not have the gross annual receipts cap. So you could make $50 million a year if you have less than 100 employees. That would be impressive as a manufacturer. But if you did it, you would qualify. So hopefully all of you are looking at these eligibility requirements and are able to say, yes, I qualify for this state's small business certification. We can go to the next slide. What should you be watching out for and looking out for? So Belen talked about how essentially from now until July is when the launch of this is all going to happen. And so we're going to be partnering more on events to actually get you certified with the DGS certification. You can, of course, anytime you want, go onto the state's procurement website, Cal eProcure, and Andrew wonderfully dropped a link to it in the chat, along with my email address. On Cal eProcure is where you'll register your business to be a bidder with the state. Even if you don't want to bid with the state, that's fine. That's just part of the process. It's where you're going to apply for your small business certification. It's all online, it's entirely self-paced, and it's entirely free. And if you'd like some assistance with that, or you actually want to sit down and do an event, we're going to be working with the county to put on some live certification workshops, as well as some preparatory events to make sure you're ready, you've got all your documents and everything you need in place to have that happen. And in terms of if you do decide to get your certification online, self-paced, me and my team are here and available Monday through Friday to help you with your certification. If you have questions, if you get lost, if you're not sure, if you're filling something out right, you can contact me and my team. We've got a robust team here. I'm on the outreach and education side to talk to business owners and work with business owners. We have a whole team that actually processes all these certifications on the back end. So that's the kind of support you can expect from me and my team, and not just from now until July when this program launches, but well into the future, as long as San Mateo County is accepting and recognizing our certifications. We'll be here to help.
Wonderful, Matt. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm taking note. There are a few questions here. We will take note of those who are interested in this local business database. And Matt, the state also has, for those that are certified businesses, can people access, is that public information? Once you're certified, they can go to a website and see who is certified in California as small or micro businesses, or is that information available?
Yes, the businesses that are currently certified, and there's around 20,000 of them, that information is publicly available, so any member of the public can look up that information. You won't see any sort of confidential information like tax numbers or gross annual receipts. You will see things like the name of the business, their contact info, website, as well as you'll see some product and services codes they've picked out that identify the goods and services they sell as a company, as well as the keywords they have selected that also identify the goods and services they sell. And you can see when they got their certification, so when they got it and when it expires. The certification lasts 2 years, and towards the end of it, you are given an opportunity to renew, which is much simpler than reapplying all over again. And yes, all state procurement data is publicly available as well. You don't have to be logged in or signed into anything to access it.
Perfect, good. Thank you. And Dana, well, I took your name, so I'll share that database as well. The following question is, what about minority-owned certification or women-owned? I mentioned before, we, because of Proposition 209, we cannot, as a county, apply any preference to any of the protected classes, and this includes women-owned or minority-owned. If there are specifically federally funded programs, those are already already have those requirements, and certain departments have those projects, but most of our procurement falls under Prop 209. So we focus on local small. That's why we're saying local will be a self-attestation. Small and micro businesses we will be accepting the state of California certification. Just to know that the supplier diversity study indicated that the vast majority of our small and primarily micro businesses in our regional market area will fall under diverse businesses as well. So there is an overlap between those two universes. What about minority? Okay, so another question around minority-owned certification or women-owned. We don't, depending again on the solicitation, but for the focus of the local business preference ordinance, we do not, those are not the certifications that fall under this ordinance, but the solicitation, if there is specific county solicitations that have federal funded that require diverse businesses, those will be outlined there. But for this local business preference ordinance, those are not accepted, the minority-owned or women-owned. And then I think that, Matt, the question is, are those certifications, women-owned, minority-owned, part of the small business certification?
It's a good question. So they're not. The state also operates under Prop 209 and has the same restrictions as the county does. Yeah, so that's the same at the state level. I'd say where you may hear something slightly different is at the federal level. The federal government does not have that same restriction, and they do have disadvantaged business enterprise certification. And you may see, so this is something that comes up, there are a couple state departments, specifically Caltrans and the California High-Speed Rail Authority, that receive federal dollars and do federal contracts. For those contracts, the federal certifications like disadvantaged business enterprise are in play, and they are relevant. So you will occasionally, well, actually kind of frequently see Caltrans contracts with disadvantaged business enterprise participation. And that's because it's a federal contract that the state is carrying out.
Yeah. And similar to us, the county, when federal funds require that those solicitations outline those requirements and certifications. So where do we look for the work, specifically for the work with San Mateo County? It seems like every city has their own public works website. Yes, so the county, very different, procurement system that the 20 cities that we have. So we do solicitations for the functions of the county. And for that, OpenGov is what we use as the e-procurement system in the county. So I actually will post next slide. If you're not part of the OpenGov, please sign up. So that's how you receive notifications from the county around open solicitations. And then the small emerging businesses in Alameda County for some time needed to have head offices in Alameda to qualify as local businesses. That San Mateo County have the same requirements. So we do have the local, in order to get to claim local preference, the business has to be headquartered in San Mateo County. So it means that it has to have a principal office in San Mateo County. And that has to be for local, small, local micro businesses as well. Thank you for answering the certification. a pain point is access to those contracts. As it seems, same groups get the preference. Then you see an impact of specific services on the human services, mental health, sustainability, and behavioral health. So same groups get the preference. So the preference hasn't been in effect yet. So maybe that comment refers to some of those contracts go to the same providers. So, I mean, that will be something we will have to see as we apply the local business preference, if there is a change in who wins the contracts, and we'll be able to track that as we implement the local business preference ordinance starting July 1st. So, and I left this out, negative impact on the folks that you're trying to reach and serve. So I'm guessing this comment is related to the one above. It says anonymous, so I don't know if it's the same person, but it seems as the experience with some of the contracts that that go to same vendors over time. So that's something that is not a specific goal of this ordinance, but it might have an impact as the solicitations get evaluated with the local small business and local micro business preference. And so, and then Amar, yes, I can share my email on the chat, or Andrew, if you can add that to the chat, that will be great. After this meeting, how do we prove that we are indeed a resident or have a principal office here? We will get a certificate as a local owned business. So we will not have a formal certification process for local businesses as Alameda County does. They have a robust certification process. The way it will work is a self-attestation form, following kind of the model that Marin County have, where if you're applying through OpenGov and you will be claiming the local preference, you will have to answer and sign on that you're verifying that this information and the address of your businesses and local businesses. And that will be the information that you will have to provide as a local vendor if you claim that local preference. So it's not a separate certification process to be certified as a local business. Great question, Ishak. All right. So feel free to keep questions coming, but again, please sign up on OpenGov, and this is our procurement team email, the procurementsmcgov.org, with any questions related to solicitations there. Again, you will all receive the slides at the end of the presentation, and these are some of the local resources available to small businesses. So please take advantage of these great organizations located across the county. And also please stay in touch with us in the Office of Racial and Social Justice. We have a newsletter that we send on every other month it's a community bulletin. And my colleague Andrew will be posting a way to subscribe to our newsletter. And then we will provide regular updates on this effort and multiple efforts we have in our office on our new website, Office of Racial and Social Justice. So please check those out. And also we want to hear feedback from you as how the webinar was useful to you today. Again, this was the intent was just to provide a quick update on efforts happening around inclusive procurement after the supplier diversity study became public. And we will have more opportunities to support vendors throughout the year, especially to get certified as a small and micro businesses, as we previously shown on the slide. So please fill out this brief survey. And then before I go to the next questions, will this recording be available? Yes. We have one more forum tomorrow, and then I will make the recording available next week, and it will be available on our website and as well as the Supplier Diversity Study website. So definitely we'll be making this available. And then no more questions, but again, my email is, I think Andrew put it on the chat, is bseara@smcgov.org. So please reach out to us with any questions that you might have, and we'll be here to provide support to all of you. So thank you again for joining us, and please stay in tune, sign up in OpenGov, and we'll be in touch with more information as we build the internal infrastructure to support the local business preference ordinance. Thank you, Matt, for joining us today and for the partnership that we are developing. And thank you, Andrew, for your technical support today. I appreciate everyone's participation, and we'll be in touch. Take care, everyone.